we were talking about the fact that we don't immerse vessels on Yom Tov, because if we immerse a vessel, essentially we make it fit for use. It's almost like making the last hammer blow on a vessel to finish off its construction. Makeba patish. Actually finishing something off is an act of creation in itself. And we're not going to carry that out on a festival just as much as we aren't going to carry it out on Shabbat. And that's essentially where the picture that we left in the second Mishnah of the second chapter of Beytzah. And now we're going to pick up in the third Mishnah of the second chapter with some exceptions to that rule, some exceptions to the rule about not immersing things on Yom Tov. And this actually, we could say this finishes off the second Mishnah, and then we're going to go back to our pattern, Beit Shammai, Beit Hillel, Beit Shammai, Beit Hillel, which we've been following ever since the beginning of the tractate. So let's begin with the exceptions. Vishavin, they agree. We're talking about Beit Hillel and Beit Shammai now. So this is a coda. This is a postscript to the previous Mishnah. Vishavin, they agree. That we can make water in a stone vessel kiss in order to purify it. Now, what is this business about making the water kiss? We're actually making the water in the stone vessel kiss the water in the mikveh. We're making it just come into contact with the mikveh. So the situation, if you can imagine it, is that we have water which is good for drinking, right? This is drinking water. And I guess in the time of the Mishnah, you could not afford to throw away clean drinking water. It wasn't, today you just open a tap, right? And you can get as much water as you like. But that was not the case in the time of the Mishnah. So if water has become unclean for whatever reason, but we want to drink it, maybe we want to give it to someone who's in a state of tahara, maybe we need to be in a state of tahara for a festival. So we need to purify the water that's become unclean. And what are we going to do? We're going to take the water and we're going to put it in a stone vessel. A stone vessel, because a stone vessel can't become unclean. And we're going to lower it into a mikveh, just to the point that the water in our stone container touches the water in the mikveh. That's the kiss. When we say we make the water kiss, we just make it touch. And at that point, the two waters become joined together, you could say. And of course, from our physics, we know, a body of water is a body of water. But there's a fundamental principle about a mikveh, which is you can't make it unclean. Nothing can make a mikveh unclean. So once the two waters have touched, the water in your stone vessel becomes clean. And then you lift it out of the mikveh. So you make it touch and you lift it out of the mikveh. And then you have clean drinking water, which you can consume on Yom Tov. So that's the first exception to the rule that we don't immerse on Yom Tov. We do actually immerse water. And I guess the rationale is we're not finishing off a vessel, but we are making it fit to be drunk on Yom Tov. What else can we do in terms of immersion on Yom Tov? So we said they agree. We can make the water kiss to purify it. We don't actually immerse a vessel. But we do immerse from one purpose to another. So if you have maybe maybe you've got a vessel that you've immersed it for the purpose of holding terumah, and you want it to bring it to a higher purpose. Maybe you want to hold holy things for the altar. So you could immerse it to change its purpose. It's already pure. You're not converting it from impure to pure. You're just changing its purpose. And similarly, maybe on Pesach, you're changing from one group of eating the Pesach to another. The halacha is actually you need to immerse your vessels But that's not that they're not pure to start off with. So for practical reasons that don't actually, if you're immersing something that is already tahor, that is already pure, you can immerse it on Yom Tov. So those are the exceptions. And then we go back to our pattern, Beit Shammai, Beit Hillel. Beit Shammai say, Beit Shammai omrim, Mev'in shlamim ve'ein somchim alehem aval lo olot. We can bring peace offerings, and we may not lay hands on them, but we don't bring burnt offerings. Very interesting position of Beit Shammai. There is background that we need to know. When you bring a personal offering, you put your hands on the head of the offering. It's a verse in Vayikra, V'samach yado al rosh korbano. This he that is bringing his own offering. These are not public offerings. These are personal offerings. You bring a personal offering, you push your hands down on the head of the offering. And the Mishnah explains in Menachot, Kol korbanot yachid tu'unin smicha. All the offerings of an individual require smicha. They require laying on hands, and there are some small exceptions. And Beit Hillel, by the way, require laying on hands immediately before slaughter, whereas Beit Shammai rule that you can lay on the hands before, you can do it the day before Yom Tov. And there we can understand really Beit Shammai. Beit Shammai omrim v'in shlamim ve'ein somchim alehen. Beit Shammai say we bring peace offerings, but we don't lay hands on them. Why not? Because according to Beit Shammai, you could have done that before Yom Tov. Aval lo olot. We don't bring burnt offerings. Why not? Because burnt offerings are wholly burnt on the altar. And Beit Shammai are going to say, look, you can only bring something you can eat, and of course you can't eat anything. You can't eat burnt offerings. And Beit Hillel are more lenient. Beit Hillel omrim of in shlamim ve'olot ve'somchin alehem. We bring peace offerings and burnt offerings, and we lay hands on them. Beit Hillel take the view that we have to lay hands on the animal in order to directly before the slaughter, in order to bring the offering. And in general, by the way, work in the temple is permitted on Yom Tov. So we can see where Beit Hillel are coming from. What about work that is required for personal comfort? Beit Shammai omrim. Beit Shammai say, Lo yachem adam chamin leraglav. Beit Shammai say a person should not heat water for his feet. So should not heat up water to kind of warm up his feet. Ela in kain ru'in lishtia, unless it's also fit for drinking. You remember, we began the Masechet of Beytzah with the principle that's articulated in Megillah. Ein bein Shabbat liyom tov, ela ochel nefesh bilavad. Let's just go back to the Mishnah. Ein bein yom tov l'Shabbat, ela ochel nefesh bilavad. There's no difference between Shabbat and Yom Tov except the preparation of food. And that's why, by the way, the whole of the preparation of food is the theme that runs right through the Mishnah of Beytzah. Now, we carry in order to prepare food. So that's why carrying is allowed on Yom Tov. So we can cook and we can carry. But what, and we've said we can carry in all objects that we need to perform a mitzvah. But what if we want to cook something for reasons other than eating? That is the question that our Mishnah is now discussing. And Beit Hillel is saying, look, you cannot heat up water for comfort. You can heat up water for drinking if you want to drink a cup of hot water, but you cannot heat up water for comfort. Lo yachem adam chamim leraglav, ela im ken ru'in lishtia. A person shouldn't heat up water for his feet unless it's also fit for drinking. Uveit Hillel matirin. And Beit Hillel are going to allow this. They're going to extend the idea that once we can heat up water for any purpose. And although they, by the way, they forbid taking an entire bath on Yom Tov, Beit Hillel will rule, and this is the halacha, that actually you can wash your hands and your face and your feet in hot water that you've heated up on Yom Tov, because we're allowed to heat up water for eating. And along the same lines, Oseh Adam Madura Umit Chamem Kenegda. And Ben Hillel will say, look, a person can make a fire, can make a bonfire for his own warmth, which he would not do on Shabbat, Umit Chamem Kenegda, and warm himself up on it, because we can make fire to cook with on Yom Tov, and just as we can make fire to cook with, we can make fire to warm ourselves up. And I guess thinking, stepping back and thinking about it, Beit Hillel are, the derech of Beit Hillel is that they make life easy for the mass of the Jewish people. They represent the poor among the Jewish people. People are not going to want to celebrate Yom Tov if they can't make themselves warm. And Beit Hillel arrange that they should be able to keep themselves warm on Yom Tov.